share. Hello everybody, it's a good news. I am your only obstacle to the time of aperitif. And so I'm going to try to be sweet and short, and I'll be sharing some ideas with you. Okay. So I want to first thank you, the organizers of the conference. It has been a pleasure hearing about all of your project and research. And it has been a very nice day full of positive energy. So really, thank you for that. I'm very, very happy to be doing that. And today I wanted to present you two examples, two projects that are both a personal and also a community project. But first, I think it's important to have just a few lines about who I am. So my name is Federica. I was born in Italy and now I'm based in Brussels, and I work as a freelancer in the video games field and the software industry. I'm very passionate about the topic of diversity, inclusion and accessibility, and I'm part of different organizations including Women in Games as an ambassador, and my role is to advocate for these values in this field to increase diversity and making a more diverse market, also for businesses, but also for people. Another thing that I would like to mention before going into the introduction of the project that I wanted to present is that you can, for free, find a white paper created by Women in Games, which is based in the UK, but has collaborated with the International Software Federation of Europe, and it's a guide that you can read. It has been developed with the best practices that you can implement in your workplace or in your research projects to make sure that you are taking care of also any kind of DEI aspect in your business or project in general. Today, as I said briefly before, I wanted to present a sort of a personal but also community project, because I'm going to present two community-based projects that are aiming at lowering the barriers of technical learning and increasing diversity. I wanted also to specify what I mean by lowering the barriers of technical learning. It's very difficult for people that have a different background and also different upbringing, and maybe have also a different network of people around them to maybe get into the technical learning, and also in certain working fields, such as, for instance, gaming. It's very hard to find skilled people, because in fact you need sometimes to have either a very specialized education, or at the same time having a very broad and general understanding of the industry. A true problem that businesses are facing, in fact, right now is the fact that they cannot find the right people. So, as an ambassador and also as a person who is passionate about this problem, I think it's important to go to the root of the problem and try to understand how can we welcome the greatest number of people into learning simple technical skills that can improve and increase their skill level in the everyday life. As I said, of course, these are like situations that can definitely benefit both individuals and businesses, but also your project. A solution to these kind of problems, in fact, is definitely gamification. As we have seen today, it has been super helpful in different projects, but also in this case can make technical education more engaging and can attract diverse learners with a diverse background. And I really wanted to stress something that is very important to me. In this case, we're not just talking about gender diversity or identity. We're really talking about diverse background in general. So someone, for instance, with a humanistic background who has studied something completely different but wanted to reach out into tech, or think that learning these kind of very technical topics could really help them improve their career, or is just curious about that, but sometimes doesn't have the means to get access to these resources. At the same time, another challenge is definitely how to keep on going. So how do you keep the motivation? How do you make sure that you're always productive? How you can gamify also the learning experience that comes with having to learn technical skills. That is definitely a lifelong process. So I wanted to get back again on what are some of the current problems that I'm gonna go into details right now. So, for instance, we know that the tech industry is definitely rapidly growing, and as we said, it demands skilled professionals that are very difficult to find. There are countries that advocate in other countries, neighbors countries, to find people to train because they don't have enough developers, for instance. And at the same time, their pool of candidates is too similar. So we know that increasing the diversity also in your skill set and the people you have on your team or that have access to certain resources is definitely a challenge, and you want to definitely put the accent on increasing your diversity to have a more successful product at the end. Furthermore, of course, there are like increasing important topics in an area of interest in which it would be important to have more skilled professionals, such as cybersecurity, game development, data analytics, and so on and so forth. And also in this case, I think it's important that anyone could have a little understanding, a general understanding about what is cybersecurity, data privacy. Maybe game development sometimes can get useful also for someone with a humanistic background, as I have, for instance. I have a humanistic background, but a very technical passion. In terms of knowledge, there are like in the industry, in tech and gaming, we can see that there are sometimes situations like biases that prevent people from entering the industry, or when entered, they don't have the same resources. So this is definitely another problem that we need to tackle, take into consideration whenever we are trying to address these kind of issues. Again, another problem, as I said briefly before, is that the professional, once you enter in that, you need to keep up your motivation and be able to, in a way, manage your time, your productivity, and also trying to, tackle the different responsibilities, especially if you are coming from a different background. And in this case, we have seen that definitely the value of gamification has been very successful, especially in some examples and the projects I will be presenting briefly. For instance, gamification has definitely the potential to transform lifelong and technical skills learning, and it makes it, as we said, more accessible and engaging for a diverse range of learners. Once again, keep in mind someone who definitely has no idea about how to inspect a website, and with just a little game can learn how to do that. At the same time, once again, you can attract a wider range of learners, you can increase the diversity, and you can increase the point of view, the cultural background, and also the workforce. At present, we can see that definitely there are like some games and tools that are available that can use gamification to make learning, both the learning and the lifelong learning, more interesting. I'm gonna show a couple of examples that are already present, that are not part of the main project, but I think they were really useful, especially the first one. Is something that I use personally. So as I said, I have a humanistic background, but tech interest, and this is like a game that I used to learn CSS. So you code in the website, and you try to move the frogs on their leaves using coding. And by doing so, you kind of refresh your mind if you're already a knowledgeable user. But if you are like completely new to that, it's a fun way, an engaging way to learn something new that can be definitely useful. For instance, this has been useful as a marketer in a website design, website in general, checking the user journey. So it's very much an example of something that can benefit someone who is not a developer. Again, this is another example, this is called BIM Adventures, and it teaches you how to use the BIM text editor, which has the characteristics that can be used basically just with your keyboards, and that is easy and difficult at the same time because you need to learn a lot of shortcuts. And by doing so, you are the little guy that goes through the maze and opens the chest and does that just by learning the shortcuts of BIM. And lastly, I wanted to present, this is a bit, oh no, there is a sort of CSS problem, I think. But this is part of the personal and community-based project. So as I said, when I wanted to get access to the technical learning, and I saw myself in a sort of alone situation, so I kind of built up a community of people that were interested in the same learning journey. And some of them were so talented to create and co-create Discord bots that could make the learning coding easier, and the first one, and the second one is improving your learning journey. So task-based, productivity check, and so on and so forth. If you don't know what is Discord, it's a platform for mainly used by gamers, but it's also used in working context to exchange files, chat, messages, voice messages, and it's very much used in the gaming community, but a lot of companies have been using that also for project management and keeping up with the project and talking to employees and collaborators. So as I said, there were mainly two projects that were developed within this community. The first one is a JavaScript bot, and the second one is a productivity rewarding system. This, the first one, for instance, is aimed at making the learning of JavaScript contextual to this platform. So it's not something that you need to seek actively outside of your working or fun environment. It's something that is present. You can input code within the chat, within the platform, and it will output the result as if it was a browser or an editor. So you can see some examples of code here. It's pretty neat, I would say. As you can see, it can output the graphic. It can get triggered by the Animoji, which is custom of the JavaScript logo. And it has also built-in variable functions such as the studio function, in which by defining some notes, it will go into the voice channel and play a music. So it's pretty interesting. And what I would like to stress on this idea is how to create something that is contextual to an environment of fun or working, so that people that do not have your background can learn something more and can be useful. The second example is this one. So as you can see, there are like some elements of gamification, like the reward system, the point system, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Pomodoro technique about learning, but basically when you can define session or productive session in which you decide to learn certain things, and this session can be a 25-50 minutes, and then after that you're going to receive like a notification that your session is done, you can take a break. By doing so, by doing like a rewarding system, like a task, you're able to define tasks within the chat, and you can receive rewards, points, badges, and so on and so forth. People are more motivated to work, and they find also the working and learning experience not anymore a solitary one, but a shared experience, because indeed it's part of a community, it's contextual to the leisure but also work environment. And another thing that is very much interesting to me is the fact that anyone who has an objective about learning something new is very welcome to participate. For instance, I wanted to learn how to do some random pixel art, And so I did the pixel art for the bot while the developer coded the backend. I also coded a couple of messages that could react to words in the chat. So this is like an example how the gamification can really also foster the motivation in learning something very, very much different. The result of this were that we are more than 600 members, and at that time more than 500 members use them actively. They found it fun. They found it also like a point of reference for their own projects. We had a very nice and positive feedback and improved engagement within the community. Other than that, of course, making technical learning like JavaScript, which is very much used in web development, more fun and interactive and accessible also to people that were not initially developers. So I would like to conclude saying that gamification definitely offers a powerful tool for addressing the two challenges that I presented at the beginning. So how to learn technical skills in a fun way, also for people that have not that background, at the same time increasing diversity. So definitely that could be an option that you can consider in your research project, in your businesses. How can I make it fun? How can I make it more accessible? How can I lower the entry barrier? There are many games also in the gaming field that are super easy, can be also idle games, they're called, and they're considered also more accessible, because if you lower the entry barrier also in terms of skills, you make it more accessible for people to play, to engage with your game. And well, in the case of the community-based project, I think it was a great example of learning by doing, the project-based learning, but at the same time how to learn together, how to create something that can benefit many people at the same time. So, and it was contextual indeed by to work and learning. So I was very, very impressed by the talent of people, but at the same time I was very proud about uniting in a way gamification, education, and technical skills, which it's something that I really, really care about. So as I said, I will be sweet and short, so feel free to contact me if you want to discuss, if you have questions also after the conference, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, thank you so much, Federica. That was short and intense for sure. And do you guys have some questions? Oh, come on, we are interested. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that talk. It's a really great talk. We're coming back to those Discord bots that you used, and so thinking back, during the pandemic, a lot of schools started to switch to e-learning and have their own chat rooms. Have you ever considered or made projects like to use some approach like that in a school, preschool environment?
That is very interesting. Thank you for the question. Actually, personally, no, I haven't thought about proposing that to school, like primary schools environment. But indeed, it is something very interesting, and actually boomed. This project, in fact, were mainly development, like the starting idea was definitely during those years of the pandemic, in which a lot of people were at home, and that was very difficult to keep on the concentration, but at the same time, lots of people wanted to learn something new. That is definitely a great idea. The only thing is that possibly at this time I wouldn't then consider maybe Discord itself, because indeed it looks it's still very much gaming related, and also you are subject to changes that are native to the platform, but you cannot really control. So you need to change possibly the entire project. So I would definitely create something native that is more suitable to the stack they're using. I know that schools sometimes use very much Google or Teams or Zoom, so definitely maybe create plugins or something like that. I think it could integrate better with the tools they're already using.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Another question, maybe? I do have a couple of questions. I was wondering, you said that you were really caring about gamification, but it's kind of a personal question. Why?
Why I care about gamification? Well, indeed, because in a way it's something that I experienced. So I wanted to learn something that it was very hard to me, but it still had like a huge interest. And I always try to make something that when I have to do a task, I always try to make it a bit more creative and fun because that's the way I learn in a way. By like this project that will very much built within the communities and the developers created that with that intent. I think it's just a showing of being altruistic in a way, but also trying to help the others, trying to understand how to communicate better, something that you're a master in an easy way. And you definitely use elements that take part from for the gaming world. So you reward, you send, you have points, you can have contextual chat, you use a different tone of voice and storytelling. So yeah, I think it's just the most creative way of learning, and I think that's more engaging. That's why I think I care about it.
Okay, thank you. I have one last and very tricky question.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
I'm sure you heard of some institutes or places where there is this gender parity, and it's asked to. What do you think about this asked to? Okay,
I understand,
we must
like
have
enforcing.
50-50 or at least 50% of women, or at least 50% maybe on some other areas not organized nurses. They try to get that as. What do you think?
I understand. Well, I'm gonna ask from a very personal point of view. This is super personal. So what I think is that, as I said before, it's not about a matter of gender or identity. So I think that in that case it could be rephrased, and I think the gender quota enforcement was just a first step to kind of educate people in seeing the diversity of backgrounds. What is important for me, and I think what this gives like the true value in teams and projects, is people who have different opinions, who have a different background, have a different story, but have the same vision, have the same passion, and the same motivation. So yes, I think each project can definitely choose the policy they want. I think it's a first step, but to me it's more important to kind of have a sort of a meritocracy first, and then making sure that you have considered all the possibilities in how to enrich your team. So what is the missing puzzle to your composition? That is very personal from as an opinion.
I think there's a question.
Yes. Sorry, I hesitate to ask my question because it's also a very tricky question. Okay. It's not a trap, it's just a question that I ask myself, and I would like to have your opinion. It's about education and gamification. Education is to make people more free to think by themselves, to emancipate people. And gamification is more about to manipulate people. So there is a paradox for when you mix gamification and I mix as well, but there is a paradox. What do you deal with this paradox to mix gamification and education?
So let me try to see if I understood correctly your question. You're saying that education has a more of learning focus, while gamification. Okay.
We try to educate people to make them free to think by themselves. Yes. And when we use gamification, it's more about to manipulate to obtain a certain behavior
Okay.
from somebody. So there is a discrepancy between the two visions. And my question is, how you manage to deal with this paradox about the link between gamification and education?
Okay, well, yeah, indeed, it's a very tricky question. So gamification, you said sometimes is a manipulation, so in terms that it's a sort of a nudge to people to do the right thing in the ecosystem of the platform of the game. Yeah, I would like to think that gamification is a positive nudge for the positive and better results. I think that in terms of this education, so it's technical, it is unbiased. There is no risk, I would like to say, because we are learning something that is as it is. In terms of more humanistic, that is a very tough challenge that I will have to think about that. So how can you reinforce that? It's a different challenge for sure, and that's very interesting. But I don't have an answer on that. I think I will definitely try to be as neutral as possible in the situation in which you don't want to be biased.
It seems to be that they would like to applicant.
Yes, just to say that I like your idea of positive nudge. I think it's a good way to think about gamification and education. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, I agree too. It is very true that gamification has been used a lot for advertising, for instance, and it was kind of manipulation style. But still, I believe that people are not also as idiot as they like to show, and if they are engaged, they can see themselves being more engaged because of the style they would get and stuff like that. But still, they are aware of what's going on more or less. And living is quite like this, and you are motivated by what's going on. Other questions? So, this is the end of the day.
Thank you.